Assalamu alaikum. I'm here with my top 20 games which I'm anticipating in 2023. This list always comes with a caveat that some of these games might not even come out in 2023, might get delayed, might not hit the retail, and some other games might replace them because there might be games which get announced and released even before these games come in, and they might be even better. For example, Stonemeyer always comes with a game which he doesn't announce too much in advance, but when he does, he advertises it a lot, and then that game is always a hit on the charts. So same can be true for many other smaller games as well. They don't have enough budget to actually start marketing in the start. So most probably these will be the big games for which I know about, and then there can be other games that come and replace them in the future. So with that in mind, these are still the top 20 games that I'm anticipating, that I'm interested, and based on that, I'm looking forward to them. And so let's get on with the list, because this is a long list, so I will be spending few minutes on each of these games, because I also have little information about some of these games. For some, Kickstarters have been previously launched, some are coming directly to retail, so little bit information is available. But for some games, even I don't have an image to see what the game looks like, but just based on the setting that it's set up in, or based on the designer, I'm really interested in the pedigree that I have developed in my mind about the game. So let's get on with the list with the number 20 game, which is Hegemony. So Hegemony is a game which is a very unique twist on our current economical state. It has different three classes. So you have the elite class, the middle class, and the lower class. And this game is actually simulating the actual economics of these, that how each class is dependent on each of them. And there are victory conditions for each of those classes. So you will be selecting which class you are going to play, and each class is dependent on each other, but they have their own victory conditions. So it doesn't mean that every lower class one just wants to become a high class one or elite class and then he will win. No, you have your own goals within the low class, and you might be winning in that way as well. So that's a really interesting concept, and I'm really so it kind of like a coin game, but coin games have been doing it for war games, where each one have their own victory conditions, each one have their own ways to play, but are still interlinked between the different armies. This one, instead of a war game, is a Euro game, but set in an economical environment. So I'm really interested in that from that point of view. On number 19 is going to be Hijacked. Hijacked, well, the first attractive thing for this one was D'Amico's art. You must have seen D'Amico's art in games like the Raiders of the North Sea series and the Architects of the West Kingdom series. So D'Amico's artwork is really unique, and especially when it comes to portraits, he does a really fantastic job. Plus, the theme of this game is unique as well, that there has been a hijacking of an aeroplane, and now you're doing the negotiator part, and there are these terrorists, and before a big action is taken by the government, you are trying to calm down the situation and trying to resolve these terrorists or kidnappers or whoever, and trying to get this hijacking resolved. So a unique theme and beautiful artwork, so that's why I'm interested in Hijack. On number 18 is going to be Tidal Blades 2. Tidal Blades 2 has nothing to do with the previous Tidal Blades game. I wasn't very much interested in Tidal Blades 1. It looked too big for a much simpler game, but Tidal Blades 2 seems to be more coherent and seems to be much more well thought out puzzle kind of game, and it has nothing to do, at least in gameplay, it has nothing to do with the Tidal Blades 1. So this is a Tidal Blade universe game, because they have created all this universe, all this lore, and they are heavily investing into this Tidal World universe, because they even have an RPG coming out for it. So Tidal Blade 2 Rise of the Unfolders is going to be one of those games that is set in that universe as well, and with its tile moving, tile shifting mechanisms, it does seem a bit more interesting than kind of a simplistic Euro action game, which was the previous game or the first game in the series. So I'm more interested in Tidal Blades 2. I didn't play Tidal Blades 1. On number 17 is going to be Point City. Now I'm a fan of Point Salad game. In Point Salad, what you used to do that you had these double-sided cards. On one side you will have some vegetables, and on the other side would be some kind of scoring condition. So you would be either drafting, and you will have a set of these on the table, so you will be either drafting vegetables to make the salad, or you will be picking up a scoring mechanism that what kind of salad do you want to make to maximize your score. Now Point City takes that formula and takes it one step further. You will have different buildings, and you will be drafting these resources to build those buildings. But when you draft, you're drafting in pairs, as far as I understand, because again there is not much information about the game on right now on the internet. So but what I understand is, again, it's going to be set up in a grid, these cards. So there are going to be resource cards, there are going to be building cards, and whenever you do drafting, it's kind of intertwined drafting. So you will be picking up resource and a building. So maybe you will be picking up a building which doesn't need the resources that you need, and sometimes you will be picking up resources that are not useful for the building. So that twists the formula a little bit when you are picking up multiple cards, but then in the end trying to make or build all those buildings, get them completed, and get the bonus points. So I'm really interested in Point City, and that's, I think, one of the only two small or short games that I have on my list, but based on, again, the history, I know it's going to be good. On number 16 is going to be Thunder Road's Vendetta. This was on my anticipated games list of 2022 as well, I think. But then I also said that, or disappointed, I don't remember. It was on one of the lists because I was saying that they missed few things with the Kickstarter, and maybe they will reset the campaign. But whatever happened in the past, this is a racing game with shooting, Mad Max style, Fury Road, cars going on the road shooting each other. So kind of racing game that I like, in which there is a lot of action involved as well. So it looks good. It's coming out from Restoration Games. They have picked up the Thunder Road game from the past, and now they have built up the mechanisms for modern day gamers and called it Thunder Road's Vendetta. And it looks cool. The visuals are amazing, and I hope the game is great as well. So that's Thunder Road Vendetta. On number 15 is going to be Dark Quarter. Dark Quarter is a mixture of destinies combined with a deep and heavy storyline. So Lucky Duck Games has been very successful with their app integration of things, and this game is going to be no different as well, because they are using their app-based powerhouse to build this game with the deeply involved app which is going to run the story of the game. You will be exploring the New Orleans, the dark side of the New Orleans, the magic, the mystics, and the detective, dark noir detective theme combined together in one game with mysterious elements. So it just looks so cool that I'm so interested. Plus this is a more mature story which they are going to bring out, because they are working with the developers of detective noir stories. So I'm really hoping this is going to knock out of the park for people who love good stories in their board games, just like I do. On number 14 is going to be Septima. Septima is going to be coming from Mind Clash Games, and normally I'm not interested in their games. I haven't played them because they just seem too heavy for me. But this game, they have said that they are lowering down their play barrier, they are lowering down their complexity. And this theme was so interesting as well. This theme is about witch trials, even though the game box art doesn't make sense to me, but just looks like some kind of purple woods or something. Anyway, Forget the artwork on the box. The components of this game look beautiful, and the theme is going to be just amazing and not replicated in any other game as well. So you are different, you are working in that covenant of witches, and what you're trying to do is you're trying to avoid the witch trials. So yeah, you don't want to be burnt by the angry villagers. And what you're trying to do is, by helping out using your medicinal and healing abilities, you're trying to help out the villagers so that they are on your side. So whenever the voting phase happens, you have enough votes in your favor that they don't burn your witch. You're trying to save other witches. They can join your covenant, they can give you special abilities. So in that way, the mechanisms are going to run, which is going to be just, I think, really unique. Haven't seen a game done a theme like this before, so I'm really interested in Septima. On number 13 is going to be Fox Experiment, from the famous designer of Wingspan, Elizabeth Hargrave. So she is going to bring a roll and write game, which isn't a roll and write in the normal sense that we think about roll and write, because whenever we think about roll and write, oh, you'll be rolling some dice or flipping a card and then marking something on your paper. No, roll and write is just a mechanism which is being used in a proper fleshed out game. And this theme is interesting as well, which is based on real science experiments in which the Russians were trying to domesticate foxes. So they were seeing that which foxes were more friendly. They were keeping those foxes and only letting them procrastinate. And accordingly, whenever their pups were being born, they were more friendly. And slowly they started to show genes closer to the dogs. And they were having those tail wagging features, they were barking, their ears were moving, those kind of features which show the friendly nature of an animal. So the habits of the animals were changing as well. And that's what this game is going to be about, that you are trying to domesticate the foxes. So that's why, again, a very interesting theme, Fox Experiment. On number 12 is going to be Divinus. Divinus was on my high on top of my most anticipated games of 2022, but the game didn't come out last year, so it's still there. Again, with time you do start to feel less excited about the games, but I'm still excited enough that it's still in my top 12. So Divinus is again a new game coming from Lucky Duck Games and the developer of games like CV. But this takes the formula of Destinies, in which, in Destinies was a story crafting game as well, but whenever you wanted to, there is a need of a fire, you will pick up your card which has, for example, a fire, and you will scan and it in your camera, in your app, and what it will do is, okay, it worked, you have lit a fire. So that's how Destinies worked. It used the camera, it gave you a bunch of cards, and you can try using different items to do different things. Divinus takes that formula up ahead. By having a tile laying game, you are playing these different demigods and trying to prove your worth to the gods that, okay, you are the real worthy successor. But this is a legacy game, and in this one, instead of the QR codes on the cards, every item is going to be uniquely identifiable by the app as well. So it has those items, it has those exploration, plus the tile laying element that when you explore the world, plus it's going to be a legacy game which is going to radically change as you play the game and how you play the game. So really excited about Divinus. On number 11 is going to be Dune War for Arakkis. Not much information is available, but we know that this game is going to be coming from Simon as well as the designers of Middle Earth. So Middle Earth was one of the most beloved games for two players, a giant game which replicated the War for the Ring, Middle Earth War for the Ring, in which actually you were taking the ring. You have one armies of trying to help the Frodo, and that fellowship is trying to hide Frodo and control the armies against the Mordor, as well as the Mordor army is not only trying to find the hobbits which are carrying the ring, as well as fight the human armies. And that was the giant game that they had produced, and it is still considered as one of the best two-player epic games that you can play. Now, they are going to be making a Dune War of Arakkis game. What is it going to be about? Well, we know it's going to be based on the Dune planet, the Dune universe, but we'll just have to wait and see that what the game actually turns out to be. But at least the background, Simon, with their powerhouse production and the good designers behind War of the Ring are going to join together to make it. So I'm really excited. Now, the number 10 top 10 games start, and on number 10 is going to be the White Castle. White Castle comes, and you might be thinking, White Castle, we have never heard of it, because White Castle is actually, I think, a spiritual successor to the Red Cathedral. Red Cathedral was a sleeper hit by Devere. It came as in a small box, but so much puzzly Euro game in it with unique mechanisms in which you are trying to build the Red Cathedral. So now they are trying to make, same developers, Devere is publishing the game. Now you will be trying to make the White Castle in Japan, and that's the kind of setting. I hope it's Japan, not China. I think it's Japan. But anyway, that's going to be the setting. What new mechanisms they bring up, we will have to wait and see. But again, based on the pedigree, I'm really excited about it. On number 9 is going to be a social deduction game, Hollywood 1947. So Hollywood 1947 takes us back to the era in which the Hollywood movie stars were trying to inject their agendas into movies as well. Not just the stars, the story writers, the directors as well. They were trying to inject their agendas in it. And how this game has been set up is kind of Secret Hitler, but turned to a more acceptable theme. Here they have injected communist among the actors. So each player is going to have different roles. Some will be patriots, supporting America, and then there will be communists who want to inject and change the mindset of Americans and be more accepting to the communist mind frame being spread by the USSR. And that's the kind of setting that you will be. So it is going to be a social negotiation game, but each player is going to try to spread their agenda, and you might not be clear that, okay, what kind of agenda they are trying to push, or who is pushing what agenda in their movies, through their stories, or the actors, and you have to suss out that who the communists are. So really new twist on, well, your typical assassin rogue games, which is Hollywood 1947. On number 8 is going to be Arydia. Arydia is a grand adventure game going to come from the makers of Zaya. Arydia is, well, again, it's a grand adventure game, but even the scale of the things in this one is going to be super huge, because even the miniatures are going to have replaceable heads. So if you want to change your armor or body, you will just pop out the head and put in any other miniature, and now you have that new armor. But again, the stories, the gameplay is going to be the unique thing as well. I'm a sucker for good stories in board games, grand adventures in board games. I love campaign games, and Arydia promises all of that, a huge table spread. So super excited for Arydia. On number 7 is going to be Scholars of South Tigris. Now this game is going to be dice manipulation, which is coming in the series of, again, from the developers Garfield Games, and they are coming from, again, the with the grand legacy of Raiders of North Sea and the West Kingdom series, and now they are doing the South Tigris. But the South Tigris line is closer to my heart, because again, this is set in Baghdad, and this game is actually special to me among the 3 games that will be released for the South Tigris, because this was based on the era in which, in actual Baghdad, what they were doing were they were trying to collect any knowledge that they could gather from all across the world, and the scholars were trying to gather the knowledge, and they would weigh the scrolls and the books that you would bring them and pay you in gold based upon the weight of the scrolls. And that's going to be the theme of this game. I'm not still sure, other than some kind of dice manipulation. They always bring a twist in their mechanisms. So other than the dice manipulation or dice placement, they are going to bring some twist in this one. But just the theme itself about collecting knowledge, that is going to be the interesting thing for me. So that's boosting this game to number 7 for me, Scholars of South Tigris. On number 6 is going to be Empire's End. John D. Clare is a designer who I really appreciate. He does really fantastic things with very simple ideas. He produced Space Base, he made Ready Set Bet, and now with Empire's End, he has taken the formula of no thanks and then made a civilization based game based upon it. So the whole concept is that you are different civilizations and different bad things are going to happen. An earthquake is going to come, a flood is going to come, and you have to protect your civilization. How you protect, again, it's an abstraction. How you're going to protect is that you are bidding that who takes the bad card. So the flood, who takes? Whoever bids the lowest is going to take the bad card. So maybe you're trying to save the resource for some more worse scenario that's going to be revealed later on, but you're trying to save your civilization. So in a sense, you are trying to pay with resources to protect against that, but it's still a bidding war. So the whole concept is very simple, a smaller game in the sense, and in that way actually it's going to be more simple but very thematic at the same time as well. So that's Empire's End. On number 5 is going to be Sleeping Gods Distant Skies. This is the sequel, standalone sequel to Sleeping Gods, but in a much smaller, at least in scale as compared to the Sleeping Gods. And this time around, rather than a ship, you are in a plane. I love that. There are dinosaurs flying behind you in the cover. I love that. There is not much other images available for this, but again, we all have seen how Sleeping Gods look like. It is going to be similar. It's going to be a book adventure, an open-ended adventure where you can go anywhere that you want. The only wonky thing about the Sleeping Gods was its combat mechanism, and what has been promised is by Ryan Lockett is that he's going to simplify the combat mechanism in Distant Skies. So that makes it much better for me to actually try Distant Skies. So that's why Sleeping God Distant Skies is going to be on number 5. On number 4 is going to be Hongu. Hongu is the remake of Rainer Knizia's very famous game Tigris and Euphrates. Tigris and Euphrates was released and then, well, it was highly acclaimed. It went into the BGG tops 100, even top 10. Maybe it was at some time at top 1 game also. I'm not sure. But it was highly acclaimed game of his. But with time, of course, it dropped. It went out of print. Then another version came out, Yellow and Yangtze. Again, a very cutthroat game. Just the theme was changed to a Asian theme rather than the Tigris and Euphrates, the Middle Eastern theme. And now Hongu is going to be another remake of it because Yellow and Yangtze license is gone as well. So Hongu is going to be a remake. I didn't like the aesthetics of Yellow and Yangtze, but Hongu aesthetics take it back, little bit inspiration from Tigris and Euphrates, whereas keeping the theme in Asia. So it looks gorgeous, and maybe this is the right time to jump to the Tigris and Euphrates bandwagon with Hongu, which is going to be the new retheme of Rainer Knizia's classic. So that's why I'm very excited for this one. On number 3 is going to be My Island, which is also from Rainer Knizia. I didn't even notice I have 2 Rainer Knizia games back to back. Now, My City was the original game and I loved My City. It was a very simple tile laying games, polynomial games. My Island is going to replace that with hexagonal shapes, but still having that simplistic rules legacy game in which the story progresses and every game is going to present a new challenge, new rules. It was just such a beautiful game, My City. So that's why My Island, even though there is no other information and even it was expected it might be released last year, but due to whatever reasons it's now being pushed to this year. So hopefully we'll get that information as well as I'll get my copy for sure in 2023 of My Island. On number 2 is also going to be another game for which we have no information, and that is going to be Forgotten Waters 2. Forgotten Water was a lovely story game. Again, I love stories in board games. The gameplay mechanisms were okay, they were not very good, but it was just that voice acting, that story that made that game so much fun. Now, Forgotten Water 2 has no official BGG page, it has no information, so I'm just using the images from Forgotten Water 1 and I just wrote 2 on it. But there is not even, I have seen somewhere an information that they are developing Forgotten Waters 2, but there is no official, I think, information about it. So that's why, why I think that is because Played Hat Games is right now releasing Hickory Dickory Dock, so all their marketing and all their publishing is focusing on Hickory Dickory Dock. They don't want to undermine it, so that's why I think they are keeping quiet about Forgotten Waters 2. But I don't care about Hickory Dickory Dock. I am waiting for Forgotten Waters 2. It was such a good game, so if they release a new version of it this year, I'm all for it, and that's what I'm going to be hoping for, and that's my number 2 game, Forgotten Waters 2. On number 1 is going to be Cthulhu Death May Die Fear of the Unknown. So it is a standalone game. It can be played as an expansion to Cthulhu Death May Die, but it is a standalone game, so this makes it a valid choice for me. Cthulhu Death May Die is my number 1 game these days, so no wonder that Fear of Unknown is my number 1 game, and I have pledged for even the season 4 expansion. I cannot just wait until they release it this year, which is going to be near to the end of the year, and I just hope that I can get at least my copy shipped to me in time for the end of the year and I get to play it before the end of the year. But at least it will get released this year, so I'm really hoping Cthulhu Death May Die comes. Cthulhu Death May Die, if people don't know, is like a dungeon crawler, but has much more elements in it. It's more modular. You can actually mix any kind of boss fight in it with any kind of mission that you play. Each mission is going to be having an objective that you need to complete to make the big boss vulnerable, but as you fight and as you take damage, you yourself become powerful as well. So it has a great escalation curve, and then you have to fight, and just those fights and the fun elements in this game are super awesome. And I love the Cthulhu theme. The Lovecraft mythos is just awesome. So that's my number 1 game, Cthulhu Death May Die Fear of Unknown. So that's it. These are my top 20 most anticipated games on my list. I think the game that I was not sure was Andromeda's Edge. It is a remake of Dwellings of Eldervale, but I wasn't interested in Dwellings of Eldervale at all. Andromeda's Edge looked much better. I'm not sure it will come in 2023. Maybe it will, maybe I will try, but I'm not sure. So I wasn't sure I should put it in my list. If I had put it in my list, maybe Tidal Blades would have gone out, so it would have been at number 18. But not sure about Andromeda's Edge until I have more information about it. But as of now, these are my top 20 games. So that's all about me. Now you tell me which of these games you are most interested about, and if not these, then which game are you excited about, which I might have missed. Maybe there is some game that I should be looking forward based upon my interest. So do leave in a comment that which game is your anticipated game. That's it for me. Happy gaming.